Okay, so we're going to kind of blow through some of this pretty quick. This is the first time that PIPTA has tried what we're classifying as a micro session. Traditionally, any parking expo you go to, the sessions are usually 50 minutes to an hour. Sometimes that's needed to meet IPMI requirements for cap points. But we wanted to try something different to get as much exposure to our members as possible, so we're running a micro session. So if we go fast through it, just remember, Jason and his team and I will be down on the expo floor, and hit us up if you have any more questions. So we're gonna kind of blow through and give you guys some history on Eugene so you can kind of understand what we're going through. We have some big events that are coming up that was kind of drawing the need for the technology that we put in place between, we're the third largest city in Oregon, but then when the U of O comes in, we become the second one. We magically jump. Of course, Portland's always gonna be the first because it's such a monster. University of Oregon is home in Eugene, except for you guys. One of the big things we have is a huge thriving tech community, and I'll kind of cover that a little bit later, but that's one of the things that's causing some of the congestion issues we have in there. Next year, I'll put a plug in, PIPTA's in Eugene. You're gonna be able to see some of the construction efforts that are going on because some of the big events we have coming. So in 2020, we have the US Olympic Trials for the track and fields. In 2021, we're hosting the Worlds, which is the IAAF World Track and Field, which will be the largest sporting event held globally that year. God help us. And in, this is wrong, I think is it 2021 we're doing the NCAAs as well? James, back to back? Yeah, I hate that. Yeah. But we have some really big events coming up that are kind of driving some of the need. Within Eugene, it's a small community. We're not as big as Boise. Our problem is we're compressed in our downtown. We have a small 12-block core downtown that's surrounded by 6 garages. We have an expanded business district about 40 blocks outside of the downtown area, and it's serviced more by surface lots or on-street parking. 2 of our garages have a park system in them, and it's a mixed use between hourly and permit, and the other ones that we have are mainly just all permit with a mixture of hourly availability in there. The surface lots that we have, a lot of those are gonna be mainly just for commuters. Every time that we seem to have a surface lot and we actually get permit customers parking on there, community development sells it for $1 and a big building comes up, so we end up losing it. We also have a huge development that's going on. I'll point at it, it's not actually up here. So along this area right here, this is the Willamette River. This whole area was recently purchased by the city, and it's a riverfront development. We're trying to mimic Portland's waterfront, because right now it's just an overly underutilized area within the downtown area. With that, we also have a development going on at our 5th Street Public Market, which they had a parking lot for all their customers. They're now building a hotel there with no parking. They're expanding their market area with no parking. The whole downtown area is a parking exempt zone. So they do zero property edge build with no parking requirements. So they rely on street and city-owned garages. Creates challenge. Our downtown core has on-street sensor meters, so we actually have the capability to do occupancy and wayfinding on-street. What we were lacking was garage. So with our tech community growth, Eugene installed what's coined UgeNet. It's the largest open source fiber network in the state of Oregon. It was a challenge because we took this gigabyte fiber, basically equivalent to what feeds Google headquarters, and put it inside a municipal straw in the ground. And so because it was going to be available to the public and not controlled by a municipality, it became a political issue, and there was a lot of hurdles to get to that. But what it ended up netting us was we're one of the top 10 up and coming tech cities. We got Mozilla named us one of the top 10 tech cities. We're one of the US Ignite cities. So it's driving a lot of tech to Eugene. And with tech comes employees. And so that's what we're running into downtown, is trying to find a way to balance the business and economic growth along with meeting the commuter needs. We also have, in 2015, we initiated a wayfinding plan. The idea is, from that was to wayfind a person off of the interstate to a garage, get them the heck out of their car so they can start shopping in downtown or doing whatever they need to do, which then in turn meets our climate action plan that council passed, which was the reduction of all of our carbon emissions and all the environmental warm and fuzzy things. So what we needed was data to make a decision. Historically, the way that we set our permits, sales within our structures for commutes and then balanced it with an hourly needs was literally, we hired a temp to go count cars in the garage on certain days, once in the morning, once in the afternoon. Magically, we came up with some number and then we sold permits accordingly. We didn't have the ability to have a real-time data or over a length of period. And we had to do all of this without a budget because we didn't have any money for this. So that was a key requirement. We also needed it to be expandable to where if we wanted to run it at one level or just garage holistically, be able to move it to different areas, which plays into the fact that we wanted it to be mobile. We didn't want it to be something that was permanently affixed to the garage. And that ties into where if we use it with a surface lot, community development sells it. Well, now what are we gonna do with that asset? We didn't want it something to be in a vault. We wanted it something like literally unbolt and take somewhere and put it in another lot. We wanted it to be completely web-based. I didn't want to host a server, didn't want to incur that extra cost, and it needed to have a full open API to feed into our data warehouse that we're creating. Of course, it needed to be reliable, and we didn't want something so tech-driven that we became reliant on the vendor to maintain it, to calibrate it. We wanted to be able to control it on our end. So basically dumb it down is what we wanted. And hence the solution.
Thank you, Travis. So from Parking Logic's standpoint, what we did is we worked with Travis and the city to provide an occupancy count for their garages using an ingress and egress counter. So the idea was to make a cost-effective solution that would reduce overall install time and cost and have a system that was as accurate as possible. So essentially what you see over here is we took a wireless approach. So what that means is that we reduced the amount of cable and conduit that was associated with this project, thus reducing the amount of civil work that was needed. So quite simply put, if you follow the flow of the graph over here, we put autonomous sensors, wireless ingress and egress magnetometers at the entry and the exit points throughout the structures, and then they would communicate wirelessly via radio frequency between detection points, and that's how we were able to establish consistent and accurate counts throughout the garages. Now, there are two important components to look at here. First is establishing the counts. Second is communication. How are we going to communicate these counts to the stakeholders, to the parkers that are coming in? So essentially what we did is we put signs throughout the city and throughout the garage. So essentially as people are coming into congested areas off the freeway, as Travis was alluding to before, into the main areas, the main roads, they're able to see that occupancy of each garage and make an informed decision in which structure to park in. And then from there, it was really simple how we did it. We essentially powered every sign locally. So it's like dropping components in a network, so we were able to strategically place the signs throughout the city for maximum visibility purposes. And that's what we were able to achieve. And then from a branding standpoint, we worked with the marketing department for the city, or with the city and with Travis himself, to ensure that the signage, the aesthetic, the branding was consistent with what the city wanted. So you could see that right over here.
So that parking P is at 6 degrees to the left and is trademarked. Don't touch it.
Can I go 6.5?
Yes, you can. Our trademark doesn't have a variance, so go ahead.
Exactly. Ultimately, what this led is to having access to meaningful data. So, furthermore, being able to push the counts online into third-party applications so parkers could see what that occupancy looks like. Because ultimately, we have to meet the parkers where they are. So, furthermore to that, it allows Travis and his team to pull meaningful stats on their operations. They just log in and they have access to a single unified interface where they can have access to all that information. So we're talking about occupancy reports, ingress and egress reports. So very simple information that we provide, but it's very powerful. So you can see, historical trends, data, day over day, week over week, month over month, what that fill rate looks like on a day by day, week by week basis. So on this simple graph, every line represents a different day of the week. So what this tells me, and it may be small for people to see, but Wednesday is the busiest day over here. A lot of people are coming in on Wednesday. For some reason, Wednesday is a popular day, but Friday isn't. People are either not working from home, commuting in. So just simple things like that. If this was like a shopping or retail environment, the trends would be probably reversed, where Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you would see a higher spike. Over the course of the week, probably not too much activity. And this is, again, simple ingress and egress data. How busy does the garage actually get? What is the movement of traffic or flow within the structure? So you have that simple representation right over here.
So that's actually incoming and exiting traffic?
Correct. The blue is incoming, orange is outgoing. That's right. So all this means, the goal is to improve wayfinding. What does better wayfinding mean? So I'm just going to touch on that a little bit before Travis mentions these points over here. But it's empathizing with the parkers, meaning that we want to help them find the space where they need to go so they don't waste time navigating, looking for an available space. And really one of the goals of the city was to improve parking utilization, and that's something we were able to accomplish with this project.
Let's see here for a second. So once we got the systems installed, we have 7 systems in 6 garages and 1 surface lot, which the surface lot actually goes away August 7th, so that's awesome. We started capturing the data, and one of the first things that we realized was we needed to find a way to accurately calibrate the system. The system is simple. It's literally ground sensor built into a speed bump, but the drivers are the problem. If you can't control them, and they can't follow arrows, and they want to run over your delineators, and they drive over an exit coming in, now your numbers are off. So what we did is we did a bunch of adding of delineators, we added some arrows, and just accepted the fact that it's going to have a variance in there. But to ensure that that variance doesn't grow over time, we ended up going through, and I have a 24-hour security presence in the garage. At 3 o'clock in the morning, over a 3-week period, they count the number of cars in the garage, and then we do some magic math, and then get the systems to auto reset to themselves every day at 3 a.m. And it keeps us within the 95-98% accuracy, which is fine for the data that we're looking for at this point, especially based on the price point of the solution that we were putting in there. I just found out from Jason today. Yeah, go ahead.
Just really quick, with the passage, do you have to put them in real time, or can you back
But when we go in and do the calibration, you can go back in and manipulate it, but it's not going to do anything at that point because you're looking at the projections from the time that you reset the count at that point. Because then you're going to mess with the ingress egress, and are you countering some ingresses that were actually egresses? And yeah. So what I just learned from Jason is they came out with a new one, which is a bidirectional sensor, where it'll actually, for those people that can't follow arrows and like to run over delineators, we can actually swap our systems out, and they'll cover them at that point because it senses where the car's coming in or out, and it'll help with that. So that's actually a great addition that they've come up with. What we were able to do is once we got the systems calibrated and realized that we were a little aggressive in installing them and put a lot of holes in our entry ramps because we didn't follow the instructions. I didn't. And finally became the local experts on getting the sensors calibrated and get them set up in the right place, and got some really solid, accurate data. We were able to analyze it and determine, wow, we have some of our garages we were way oversold, hence the reason why all the complaints. And then we had some garages that we were way undersold, and we were actually able to increase the number of permit sales there and make more revenue at that point. One of the things that we wanted to do next is we want to segment out our garages and potentially look at doing some dynamic pricing by level within the garage. We're pairing parking logic data with another source to where within our data warehouse, we're creating profit loss statement per stall so that we can actually analyze a 560 stall garage down to the 8 by 17 parking stall, and then it allows us to set the dynamics in there with some fixed LPR, a new park system, and actually get the more efficiency out of our garages, because traditionally a parking garage loses money, especially in a place where your all-day rate is $8. So we end up transferring about $1 million a year from on-street to off-street to subsidize it, just because these big concrete structures are so darn expensive. So being able to maximize it to get the most out of that single stall is extremely important, and you have to have the data to do it. Then another nice thing that we found with our solution was it was able to provide some of our stakeholders some really solid data. We have a garage that's attached to our Performing Arts Center, and they use it for event parking. Well, they never knew when the garage was full, so that they could use alternate locations. So now they have access to it right on their phone. They can track the garage as they're doing their event infill, and then stay ahead of the curve instead of having event goers circle the garage trying to find a spot, and then lo and behold, the doors close on the performance and they're stuck in the lobby until the first intermission, and they just spent all that money. We also have a downtown athletic club, which is extremely political. I'm sure that if you guys have something similar, it's the same way. They have access to the widget, which is something that's built in with the system to where they can actually put the real-time count of the garage on their webpage for just the garage that's impacted by them, so their customers know and their management knows is there availability within the garage before they drive down to do their workout. Because heaven forbid they have to walk from level 4 to level 1 to go work out, because they got to be able to park on level 1. Yeah, and again, just to foot stomp, before doing something like this, we knew from the beginning that we needed to accept the fact that it's not 100%. Even the red greens that you see in airports, they're not 100%. It's technology, it's fallible. Don't set yourself up to be let down by going, I gotta know exactly to the T how many cars are in there. It's not gonna happen. Like I said, the next one is to segment our garage, and then we're going to work with Parking Logics. They've done everything they're supposed to, but my other vendor hasn't, so that we can further the wayfinding plan that we have, to where we wanted to have not just the dynamic signage at the interstate, which is coming in a couple months. So as you drive down I-5 coming into Eugene, and it's got the exits to show you where to go, there's going to be a sign up there next to it that'll show which garages and the intersections of where the garages are at, and it'll show real-time signage where you're at, and then we'll breadcrumb you all the way into downtown. But we also want it on the app. So right now I can wayfind you to a single space stall on street, but I can't wayfind you on the app to the actual parking garage. And that's what we're working towards the next couple months, so that it's a one-stop shop and get you out of your car as quick as we possibly can and get you to stop circulating around. Cool, that ends it. Was the micro session good? But I want to ask, does anybody have any questions for us? Talk to Jason on the expo floor. It's actually a system after 2 awesome city paid IPMI expo trips. We were able to source the vendor to meet our needs. The customer service has been phenomenal at that point, and it's a system that even if you only have a small parking program, 1 or 2 individuals, once you get the system installed, it's super easy to maintain. It's not something that's you're going to be married to at your computer every day trying to manipulate it. Once it's calibrated, it runs for yourself, and just gives you data that you can make real accurate decisions on, whether you're pricing, your use, and situations like that. Any questions?
Travis, so you're saying the signs at your garage are Wi-Fi? Is that how it's communicating?
The signs at the garage, the system all talks via Bluetooth.
Okay.
And then there's one control unit within each garage that is the brains, and it has a cellular Verizon SIM card in it, and it transmits that to the web. So the garage is a web. Each garage is a web that talks to a master, and that master sends it up to the web.
It actually works off a radio frequency, so everything communicates off a Zigbee radio frequency. And then once you see the count on the sign, then there's a SIM card, actually 1 SIM card per garage, and then that transmits the count information to the web.
How will it work on the freeway?
Same way.
On the freeway, we'll send it to them it's still just a parking lots can just dump it in and send it to them on that side.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have to put little parking logic control box all the way out like that.
Right.
We just got to send it to the sign and it'll
Exactly.
be done.
The web drops it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Anything else? Okay, that was short and sweet, to the point, didn't add a lot of fluff. Please, I encourage you to take advantage of the vendors one last time before we close up the expo hall. Don't let them get away without asking them the hard questions. And then we'll have fun at Jump tonight. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.